Okay, I'm ready. Becoming.
Trials and errors make us strong if we learn how to just move on and not give in. When we fall, falling down and getting up, when we will not be stuck in the places where we fall. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials we will see. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We've got to keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. We'll keep becoming. Oh, yeah.
If you have your Bibles, let's open up to Matthew chapter.
Well, great evening, everyone. Welcome to our Soul Situation Room 4. Today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. I apologize for the snafu there in the broadcast video. We're going to find out what was going on with that before the night ends. But I am so elated and excited that you have chosen to come and hang out with us tonight. We know that there are a lot of things and places where you could be on a Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., depending upon where you are. But I never take it for granted that you say yes to hang out with us, to be a follower, to hang out, to spend time, to listen, to converse, to just be present in this space. And so if you're joining with us for the first time, my name is Reverend Shonda Nicole Gladden. I am the CEO of Good to the Soul, a social enterprise that energizes individuals and institutions to flourish. And so every single month, for the last 50 days, actually, we have been walking throughout the month talking about what does it mean to get to the end of 2020 and to do so in a way that ushers in 2021 with a spirit of goodness, a spirit of preparedness, and with intention. And with that being our thought and our focus in mind, tonight you are in for a major treat. We have not only a dynamic speaker in Mr. Jamie Hogue, who's going to talk to us about all things masculinity, as well as mental health and moving on from toxic situations, but we also have Pastor Greg Stamper, a fellow Morganite, who is going to come into the room and have a conversation with us about all the things that are musical for him, things that are spirit lit and life-giving, so that you too can feel the good energy right where you are. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to share a very special treat. And that is this video that I stumbled upon that it features Pastor Greg Stamper. And so if you are out there in social media land, I need you to begin to give some comments down there below. Say where you're viewing from. Say, hello, I am viewing. Maybe you're from Maryland, you're from DC, from Indianapolis. Maybe we got New York City in the house. Wherever you are joining us from, maybe even Chicago, since one of our guests is from Chicago. Wherever you're joining in from, go ahead and begin to put some comments there. I'm going to back up off the screen in just a moment, and I want you to take a look at something that we're going to have a conversation about in just a moment. I'll be back.
Soul 21, everything I see, what I desire is desiring. So you don't have to doubt, you can let go of the world. Because I know it will find me. In the right time, in the right place, in the right way, it will find me. Come on, let's clap it out. Clap, clap, clap. Hey, hey. Oh, clap it out. One more time. Everything I seek, what I desire is desired. So I let go of doubt. And I let go of wrong. It will find me in the right way, in the right time, in the right place. It will find me, find me, find me. Oh, looking for me. My dreams are looking for me. Oh, yeah, yeah. Don't stop looking for me. No, 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 no. It won't stop looking for me. Nobody wants me looking for me. Hey, my dreams are looking for me. My dreams are looking for me. Yeah, my peace. And it won't stop. It don't stop. It can't stop. It won't stop looking for me. Oh, looking for me. Looking for me. Good health is looking for me. Good health is looking for me. And your wealth is also looking for me. My wealth is looking for me. It won't stop. Don't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. It don't stop. Looking for me. Yes, more love. And if we have more love, we gotta have more joy. It won't stop. It can't stop. It don't stop. It won't stop. Oh, it will find me. Hey. It will find me. Yes. Find me. Whatever that vision is, whatever that goal is, whatever it is that you're pursuing, it is looking for you. So you can let go of the worry, you can let go of the doubt, you can let go of the fear, and know that it's looking for you. One more time, it will find me. Give it up for the band. Frank Confield on keys, Big Paul on bass, Zane West on drums, Carlton Abrams on guitar. Sopranos, can you sing a little something for us? 2, 3, and I know it will find me. One more time. Oh, I know it will find me. Outdoors. How is it going to find you? Easily? Effortlessly. Easily. Effortlessly. One more time. Easily. Effortlessly. Oh. Tenors. Who find me? Find me. Here we go, everybody. Hey, break it down. Hey, It will find me. It will find me. Quiet. It will find me. Yes, it will. It will find me. Hey, hey, it will find me. It will find me. Last time. It will find me. So it is.
Wow, let that be your anthem. I don't know about you, but I'm back here jamming to that music. How are you feeling about this music tonight? That everything that I desire, it will find me because it's pursuing me. So if you're really feeling that song, I want you to know that Pastor Greg Stamper is the man you saw on the mic. So YouTube, don't mute us because actually he does own the rights to this song, and that's why we were able to play it. He is the co-founder, the co-pastor of Celebration Spiritual Center in Brooklyn, New York, an ordained interfaith minister, fourth generation preacher, recording artist, life coach, author, and entrepreneur. At the age of 5, he wrote his first gospel song, and today his music is being sung by choirs and churches internationally, just like you saw just now. Pastor Greg is the creator of the 90 Days to Greatness coaching program, which is designed to support those who want to use spiritual and metaphysical principles to create and live their greatest lives without becoming a monk and specifically, and also not retreating from daily life. Using the tools that have helped him achieve mastery in his own life, along with tools specifically designed for the 90 days to greatness, like vision mantras and the manifestation equation. Students have manifested hundreds of thousands of dollars, released weight, married their soulmate, found inner peace, started new businesses, increased business profits, and found a greater sense of well-being. As a dedicated practitioner of the transcendental meditation technique, Pastor Greg is also a tireless advocate of this effortless practice, which not only promotes personal health and well-being, but also the potential to cultivate global healing and world peace. Friends, I would want to read all of these things because he is absolutely amazing. But I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to have this major conversation with him, because not only can we read about his bio, but we have Pastor Greg right here in the room with us. So put your hands together, throw up your emojis if you're out there in chat world, and welcome Pastor Greg Stamper. Hello.
Hello. It is so good to be here. It's listening to the song. It's hard to stay still when that song is on. Felt good.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm back here jamming in my chair. You know, we can only do chair dancing when we're on the screen. It may look a little inappropriate if I jumped up. People say, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Yeah.
But wow, that song has so much energy. How did it come to be?
Well, I have a series of recordings I listen to of positive affirmations that I purchased some years ago, and I was doing my normal thing. I'm waiting on the subway platform, listening to affirmations, and one of the affirmations was just so clear that day, and it says, "I know that everything that I seek will find me when the time is right." And it was like everything stopped. Will find me when the time is right. And I literally just started to download the song. I just heard it clearly. And, you know, I don't remember when I taught it to the choir, but eventually we taught it to the choir. And it's a song that everybody at the church really loves, because we need to be reminded of that. You know, I think we do.
You said taught it to the choir and everybody at the church. Where is this church? What is this choir?
So Celebration Spiritual Center, we're located in Brooklyn, New York. Pre-pandemic, services are in Bed-Stuy. Right now, we're live streaming every Sunday. Our choir is Soul 21, all the beautiful faces you saw there in the video. And yeah, we have a amazing musical time every Sunday.
Every Sunday. I mean, we had an amazing musical time tonight, and we were just watching via YouTube. So I can only imagine the energy. You talk about the energy that y'all have as you sing together, as you worship together. But what does that energy look like as we're thinking tonight? You're in the Soul Situation Room. People come here, and a lot of times they have questions about, you know, how to make sure that they have the right energy. What would you say to our viewers who may be feeling this kind of pandemic pressure, the weight of a lot of things going on?
Oh yeah.
How can we get that good energy of it finding us? So we just
Right.
sit and be like, hey, energy, find me.
Well, it's a couple things. I mean, I think that one of the things that even as I was preparing for this interview, I was thinking about the underlying idea of, when we pray believing that it is already done, right? We pray believing that we have it already. And that's an important step. I think this song sort of embodies that idea. Taking it a step further, I think this song even embodies what Jesus was teaching in the story of the prodigal son, that when the prodigal son returns home, it says, even when he was afar off, his father sends the servants out to him and gives him the robe and the rings, right? Not once he got in the gates of the home. And so that also embodies that idea of that which we are seeking, the shift, the change that we're seeking, even when we make mistakes, right? That it's actually seeking us, because the father had to have been looking for him to see him afar off to then send his servants out. And so I think in terms of the pandemic and where we are now, the way to get that energy, that daily energy, it's really about a daily choice. We actually, one of our guiding principles at CSC is that daily spiritual practice is not an option. And what that looks like at minimum is a very simple thing that I call 5-5-5, right? 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of sitting in meditation, and 5 minutes of journaling. And it seems like it's not a lot. What I say often is, one drop in an empty glass doesn't seem like a lot, especially on day 1. It doesn't even seem like a lot on day 10. But a consistent drop in the glass will eventually fill the glass. Now, our opportunity is once we fill the glass and that glass starts to overflow, because then a single drop becomes almost too much, we're supposed to live from the overflow. Keep that single drop every day and you will never run out. And then you won't be giving away your energy to other people.
You dropped a lot on us in a short amount of time. And so what is the 5-5-5? Because I think I want to put that up for the people to catch that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a simple method of having a daily spiritual practice. So you can take, 5 minutes a day to read the Psalms or read a scripture or read some other text that is inspirational to you. And then you take 5 minutes of meditation, just sitting in silence. It's something that we all must learn to do, and particularly as people of color, we really must learn to do that. And then 5 minutes of what I call affirmative journaling. Now, I know lots of people journal, and most of us know to journal in some way nowadays, but we may be journaling about our problems. And I believe that writing is creating. And so there's an opportunity to write affirmatively. That might be a gratitude list, just 3 things that you're grateful for. It might be something that sort of planning and creating your day, and just, what meetings you have that day, what events and things are on your plate, and just writing it with positive expectation that these things will go well. 5 minutes is all that's required. So 5-5-5, that's 15 minutes a day. That's a small drop. And I guarantee, just like a small drop in a glass will eventually fill it to the point of overflowing, and the consistent drop will keep it overflowing. That's how you keep that energy. It's invaluable, particularly in this time. It's invaluable.
Now, I even feel a different piece that is coming over me just hearing you talking about this 15 minutes as a concept that I can see how that energy would certainly transform my day, particularly as I'm thinking 10 days until the end of the year.
Yep.
I know that there are some suggestions that with 21 days, you can develop a new habit, 30 days, this, but we only have 10 days left. But I imagine if we would covenant, y'all viewers out there in YouTube and Facebook Live, for 15 minutes a day for the next 10 days, to affirmatively journal.
Yes. Yeah.
What would this end of the year look like?
It'd be powerful. And I think 15 minutes is something that we can dedicate to. My grandmother used to say, start out like you can hold out. Right. So simply just start with what you really can do. Right. So often we think, oh, I'm going to give you 30 minutes a day. Well, you might not be able to commit to 30 minutes right now. Can you commit to 15 minutes? Right.
Be realistic with what we can commit.
Yes.
God, the divine, whomever God is for the people who are viewing, knows exactly, at least I subscribe to the belief that God knows like our innermost thoughts, not like God foreordained our innermost thoughts, because God has definitely given us the ability to be free thinking. But as we're thinking them without audibility, God knows that we're thinking like, yeah, I might not really be able to commit to this, but I'm gonna just write this down. Say, no, be honest with God.
Right. Yes.
That here's 15 minutes, God, each day. And God will honor that. I truly believe it. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
So 3 hours. Yeah, people are doing the math. If we just commit to 15 days for the next 10 days,
wow,
we would have spent 3 hours in affirmative journaling with the creator of the cosmos. Now, listen, creator of the cosmos does so much in just the blink of an eye. Imagine what the creator could do with 3 hours alone with us.
Yes. Wow. It's real. It's so
I'm
real.
about that life, friends. I think we should all be about that life.
Yes,
you know, so Pastor Greg, whenever we bring people on the show, I always ask the question, how do you define flourishing? Because good to the soul is good to the spirit of universal liberation. And we are about creating and curating spaces that enables human flourishing. So when you say flourishing, what does that mean for you? How do you define flourishing?
Well, flourishing, it immediately takes me to nature. And so what I immediately see a flower in my mind's eye. And so what I think about is healthy, sustained growth, right?
Yeah,
and sustainable growth, even more so than sustained, because that could be some judgment in that. But healthy growth, and that which is sustainable, which kind of goes back to what we were saying, right? Committing to 15 minutes versus 30 minutes or an hour, right? That we can be flourishing. It doesn't have to look the same for you as it looks for me or someone else. But that which is sustainable, I believe, is that which is most effective, because we can replicate it over and over again.
Yeah, no, I love this notion of nature being connected to human flourishing.
Yes.
I honor that God is the creator of the cosmos. And in the midst of solstice season, I cannot allow my anthropological self to be so ethnocentric, to be so arrogant, to think that it's just about humans. Human flourishing must be connected to nature.
Yes.
That's how the creator of the cosmos created us, that we would not only energize nature that is around us, but we would be energized by it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I spent a little bit of time outside today, and I was able to breathe in some fresh air.
Oh,
and
that's a gift.
Right? I can't tell you how different I feel after having spent that time just breathing in the air. And I know we're in multiple pandemics.
Yeah,
I know the air that has too great a density of humans in it at any point in time right now may be unsafe.
Right.
But I am just foolish enough to believe that our human flourishing, as you said, is connected to nature. I really appreciate that.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
So we have a bit of a delay in terms of people asking questions. And so people are still doing the math on social media. So, I just took the mathematician's word for it, but 15 minutes times 10, that sounds like we're close to 3 hours, right? 15 times 4 is an hour. 4 times 3 is 12.
Oh,
so maybe not. But we're close.
But right.
Don't come in here and throw up our mathematical challenges. So, I also want to let the people know that you are this, as we've already heard, a phenomenal songwriter. And so how can people follow your music or learn more about you?
Okay. Well, definitely you can go to Celebration Spiritual Center's website. We have links
Uh-huh.
to our YouTube channel. We have a whole playlist of music, always adding new songs weekly. That's definitely our YouTube channel is the best place to kind of get some music. Um, my solo album is actually available to stream for free on SoundCloud. So you can search for me on SoundCloud. I don't think I gave you that link, but
So,
my first album is there on SoundCloud that can be streamed.
so if we head over to SoundCloud and we just search for Greg Stamper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I, I am really, really, really in love with the place at East Coast Spring Lane and Hillen Road.
Yes. Yes.
And, I know
Mm-hmm.
we have just a hair of a difference in terms of our age. And so we may have been there at different times.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us a little bit about your experience at Morgan State University before we transition to the next piece of this.
Oh wow! Well, I'm a third generation Morganite. My grandfather attended
Yes.
Morgan. My mom attended Morgan, and the heart of my experience at Morgan was, of course, being a member of the choir. I am forever grateful and thankful to have learned from and sat under the baton of Dr. Nathan Carter. And of course, that's where, right, that's that Morgan Choir connection. It's a family that runs deep. Maryland is home. I mean, I'm in Brooklyn. I've been here for a very long time now. But Maryland is home for me. I have family. I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. I have family in Baltimore. A lot of my family is still in Maryland. I'm planning on eating crab cakes this weekend because I'm from Maryland. Like, it's real. But yeah. So lots of love for the great city of Baltimore. Yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all are hearing any kind of overfeed hanging out in the room, but I am here with my grandmother, who is 92, who cares not that we have a live show happening here. So, y'all, I apologize. But yes, that Morgan spirit, that
Mhm.
Morgan State University, we are family.
Yes.
And God rest his soul, there's
Yeah.
no one like the Dr.
None.
Nathan Mitchell Carter.
Nothing.
I
No.
was blessed to sit under his baton and
Mhm.
and under his tutelage
Yes.
for 5 whole years. You will
Oh.
not judge me that, yes, it took me 5 years to graduate
It's
from
all
Morgan
good.
State, viewers,
That's
but it's
all
all
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but being able to travel with him all around the world and being
Mhm.
able to sing and just
Yeah.
experience excellence in
Yes.
choral music. I
Exactly.
can see that it has definitely shaped you as a musician. And so,
Absolutely.
friends, we're going to bid farewell to Pastor Greg just for a moment, but do not disappear because we're going to close out the evening with another one of his songs that I think is going to energize you
Awesome.
even more. If it's
Awesome.
all right with you,
Of
I want
course.
to
Of
play
course.
I Am Enough at the
Oh,
end.
wow. Okay. Beautiful. I
Okay?
love it. I love it. Yeah.
So, any closing words before I introduce our next guest?
I just want to encourage everybody to keep loving on each other, stay safe, stay healthy, and just remember that everything that we're doing right now is a part of a larger goal, because there is an end to this thing, and we just have to continue to hold on and stay safe.
Thank you so much, Pastor Greg, for answering my call, saying yes,
Absolutely. Thank
being
you
our guest
for the request.
tonight.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So, friends, you heard it here, that everything that you and I desire, it is seeking us. It will find us if we keep connected to that good energy, which is connected to nature as well as to the divine who has called us for such a time as this. I don't know about you, but I feel some good energy flowing even right now. Well, friends, as I said, as many of you may have checked out earlier, tonight we're talking about masculinity, mental health, and moving on from toxic situations. Now, the brother who I am getting ready to bring to the stage is someone that I think everyone should know. We are just going to get to know each other tonight because our original guest, many of you may have seen a few weeks ago, forgot that he had to see clients tonight up until 8 p.m. And so I said, we will not modify our show time, but I just believe that God has someone else who is going to make sure that we can have this conversation. And wouldn't you know, I simply began praying and I sent out a few messages, and Mr. Jamie Hogue, a certified licensed school counselor who is now currently an assistant principal, said yes to the call. As a school counselor, Mr. Hogue educates staff and district leadership on how to implement trauma-informed practices and trauma-sensitive classrooms throughout the school district. It is his life's work to bring awareness to communities across the country on how to identify traumas, triggers, and stressors of everyday life with solutions on how to manage. Mr. Hogue was awarded the award of recognition in the 2019 to 2020 year, Those Who Excel in Education Award, granted by the Illinois State Board of Education. He is a two-time graduate from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale with a Bachelor of Arts in English and a Master of Science in Educational Psychology. Mr. Hogue also earned a Master's of Arts in Educational Administration and Leadership from McKendree University, and he is currently pursuing a Doctorate of Philosophy in Educational Administration and Leadership at Concordia University of Chicago. Now, y'all know I'm on PhD mommy mode, so I am ready to commiserate, if you will, with a fellow PhD student right now. Y'all gonna throw some love up, some hearts, and some likes, and welcome Jamie Hogue. Hello, Mr. Hogue.
Hi, hey, Reverend Gladden. How are you?
Oh, I'm yet holding on, as the elders would say. How are you?
I'm doing well tonight. Thank you for having me. It's really an honor and a blessing to be here tonight to speak with people in soul situations. So I think this is a divine time and an appointment for me to be here. And I'm just glad that you opened up the door to let me be in here. So thank you Thank you for that.
Thank you for saying yes. Now, some of our viewers, they're throwing up some, I don't know, does this mean anything to you? TREP?
No.
Okay. So as we were talking about you, they started saying TREP, and I don't know if that's part of your schooling, but we'll ask Reverend Adunola if you can clarify, because we don't know what TREP is, but I want to make sure we know what TREP is before we leave. But maybe, I don't know, is this somebody you know?
No, I see my aunt is here, Juanita Hope Martin. That's my aunt. She's one of my biggest supporters.
Yeah,
so
that's
she's
your
on. That's my aunt, yeah.
Well, hello, Auntie Juanita. Look.
Trauma responses and education practices, yes. Thank you.
So maybe we don't call, maybe it's regional that it's TREP,
Right.
or you're just not expecting to see that acronym as we were reading through. But thank you, Reverend Adunola. She is an educator of all educators. A couple of weeks ago, I taught for the Connectional Christian Education church school for our denomination, and I had to teach following Reverend Adunola. And when I say she's an educator, all of the pressure was on me. So thank you for clarifying, Reverend Adunola. But so trauma response education practices. Let's hang out there for just a little bit. And a few weeks ago, I had a guest on who talked about the traumas associated with this current era in which we find ourselves, the pandemics of being stuck in the house, the pandemic of dealing with a major medical outbreak. And even now, I imagine the traumas of the government says $600, which averages about $2 and some change in a stimulus response per day for the 9 months that we have been. Friend, help us understand what this trauma means to us from a male perspective.
Wow. Well, I think the trauma from a male perspective is this, during this time, and I'll talk specifically about Black men. We are already a very underserved population of people who do not seek therapeutic counseling services, a lot of times not to our own accord, but there are barriers, real and perceived barriers, that stop this process from taking place, where we don't actually have a big space in the mental health community. And I'll speak a little bit more, Reverend Gladden, about the kids. You talked about some of the kids right now in school, remote learning. A lot of our kids right now are experiencing a lot of trauma from being at home, the remote learning. There's a lot of kids suffering from depression, suicidal ideation, because whether we know it or not, schools are safe places for our kids, right? And some of those kids' home is not the safe place. So now they're having to battle and re-register how to just be at home for a considerable amount of time that they're not really used to being in. So now there is a big call for our mental health practitioners, our school counselors, and our social workers to be ever more mindful of kids' behavior while they are in class. And it's really hard to get a gauge on it when you're sitting in a room on a Google site looking. You can't necessarily gauge as much as you want to as if they were in the present. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that too. But this is the time right now where most mental health practitioners are really trying to make sure that the kids are safe. For Black men, even a bigger issue. As I said earlier, we are one of the populations that do not necessarily have access or readily available resources to get services in the mental health community. And I think it's very unfortunate, because what it does is it constantly keeps us in these cycles of trauma. And what we do know about trauma is that sometimes it is a factor in our own behavior. And whereas women traditionally have more access or take more advantage of the mental health community, they have a lot more systems of support. Whereas Black men necessarily, our systems of support look a little bit different. So we may get our systems of support from the barbershop. That's where we have our therapy. That's our counseling. Some, perhaps the church, but not all. I also think that the church is doing a little bit more at this point right now to give more, shed more light on Black men being underrepresented in mental health. And I think that during this time, it's difficult for us trying to form these relationships and form these communities where we can get the support to kind of deal with the stressors, because many of us are still working. We're quarantined sometimes. We're still having to make sure we are doing the things we need to do to survive. And I think having these systems of support is going to be astronomical to how Black men come out of this global pandemic. But honestly, we've been in a pandemic for a long time, psychologically, for Black men. It's been a pandemic for such a long time, not receiving care, not getting healing. A lot of times for the traumas that we experience, not only now, but as kids that kind of followed us along.
Wow. So I was not assigned male at birth. So, and I also do not self-identify as male. I do identify as a queer Black woman. But in saying that, what about people who love men, who love Black men? Can you talk to us a little bit about how might we in this season be intentional to cultivate spaces that honors and perhaps provides less toxicity for the Black men we love?
Oh, I think that's awesome to that question, because what it brings up for me is the simple way of having a conversation. And that's what we're doing right now, having a conversation. The way in which you can gauge it and bring the conversation into a Black man that you love is to simply have a conversation. I think that a lot of times, because of culture, a lot of times, specifically Black culture, it's difficult for us to have these conversations because there's so much stigma that is behind mental health. And a lot of times we are unable to we don't have necessarily feel like we have the tools in our families, in our relationships, in our communities to start these conversations, because sometimes we know when someone we love is in a hurting place, or if they have experienced a traumatic event. Yeah, we don't know how to really approach them. And part of it is too is because we have started these narratives so much about black masculinity, and a lot of times, it is not looked upon favorably for a black man to be emotional or to be vulnerable or to share out. These are a lot of times traits that we have in our community reserved for women, and unfortunately, black men have paid the price for that. And these traumas that we walk around and carry sometimes, they affect our relationships. And I think it is at a point right now where we have to do more to incorporate the narratives and the stories of black men so that they can get the healing that they need to flourish and be the community leaders that they want to be, and the fathers and the brothers and the nephews and the ministers and the teachers and all those great things. And it's going to start with the conversation. And I'm glad that we are here having it, because these conversations will open up more.
No, thank you for that. And so Deborah Hawkins, who's watching us from YouTube, asked the question, what does it feel like for Black boys in particular?
Wow. So I've been in education for over 12 years now, and I'll just kind of take you back. My first experience is working in a high school. And I remember there being an overrepresentation of Black boys in special education. I also remember Black boys being suspended at record numbers higher than their other counterparts in schools. And a lot of time that's because culturally, there was not anybody in the school, a lot of other Black men to identify with self-identification. And so when you are at school every day or in the world every day, and you're not around people that look like you or identify as you, it makes it difficult for you to navigate certain aspects of the world. So that's in school. Let's think about transferring that out into the real world. And we still sometimes have those situations where it makes it difficult. So for a lot of Black boys right now, I can't speak for all in general, but I'm just wanting to say, during this time specifically for Black boys, have conversations, because again, that's not necessarily part of the culture for Black boys to share with other Black boys when they're having an emotional or psychological break or any issues. So we have to be very intentional and incumbent about making sure that we are starting discussions, asking questions, leading questions that will help them open up, and also setting the precedence in our homes that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. It's okay to share. The second part is that we have to teach kids on how to identify the emotions that they're having. A lot of times, specifically Black boys, in my experience, it has been a situation where they can't identify anger as opposed to frustration, happiness, or joy, or grief, or sadness, or anger. Sometimes all those things are so intertwined. So we have to now teach our Black boys ways in which they can identify their emotions that they're having. And that is one way to start a conversation. What's going on right now? Tell me what you're experiencing. Is it anger? Are you frustrated? Talk to me more about what's happening. So we got to be able to get in there, not be afraid to give them space, to give them a sacred space to be able to share. We have to find ways to incorporate them into a conversation that's going to save their lives.
So beginning with the conversation, I appreciate that. Clearly I'm all about having conversations. And so I deeply appreciate that, the permission that you've given us, for those of us who love Black men and who love Black boys, to begin with the conversation. But I know from experience that having the conversation, the when and the how matters. So, and I know you can't be the native informant. You can't tell me how all Black men or all Black boys are going to experience it. But if one were to express love towards you and needed to have a conversation with you right about now, what would be, how would one broach the subject? Is there a time of day that's better? Is there a way to approach you that would feel more likely to get us a response that would be life-giving?
Well, my aunt's on here. She probably can answer that better than me, but I'm going to attempt to answer that question. I think you have to know your audience. You have to know that the person that You have to know the person that you're approaching. Now, if you know John, he don't want to talk to you first thing in the morning. He done worked all night. It's best not to approach him about mental health or depression or anxiety of any of these particular things in a morning. So it's very important that you know your audience, who you're speaking to, and it's also about timing. And it's okay to say, listen, I have noticed some behaviors that seem so much out of your character. I've noticed you sleeping a lot more. You seem very reserved, and you pulled yourself away from the family, and that's unlike you. Is there something going on that I can assist you with, or anything that you want to talk to me about? I just want you to know that I love you. Whether or not they share at that moment, you have opened up a door and lifted a window for them to come back to. Even if at that time they may not want to share, you've given them permission just by saying, I love you and I am here for you. I want to support whatever's happening. And so if a person does not share, if they're reluctant at that time, be the person to open up the door. You've then set the standard and the precedence that I am available to you because I love you and I am concerned and I want to find ways to support you in whatever it is you're experiencing. And I think that's the best way. So know your audience, timing is appropriate, and make sure that you give them the opportunity to really share. We a lot of times ask people what's going on with them, but we really don't want to know. So if you're asking the questions, those who love Black men, be ready to listen. Don't only lend your ear, but lend your heart. I hope that answered your question, Reverend Gladden.
It did, and I was trying to type it in so we could hear it, because you said know your audience, and then you said timing is important.
Yes.
But then you also said make sure that you are ready.
Yeah,
to hear the answer.
Yeah, make sure you're ready to hear the answer and don't shy away from it. You might just be that one person that can save their life. You may not know if they have feelings of suicidal ideation. And just the very fact that you give them the opportunity to share, it could be their number one factor. So if you're going to ask, be prepared to listen. Sometimes we see people in passing. We say, hey, Reverend Gladden, how you doing? And, how you doing?
And they gone before I even get
They didn't really want to hear it. They just wanted to follow protocol and being polite, but they weren't interested. A lot of times, we have to ask people as well too. On the flip side, I'll address this really quickly. I think it's important. I'm a big advocate for mental health for Black men, but even as someone who's seen a therapist for 2 years, I think it's very important if I call you, Reverend Gladden, and say, listen, I need a moment to vent. Do you have a space with you right now that you can allow me to share? And it's okay for you to say, no, right now, I don't have the space or the energy to hold for you. I can't hold space for you right now because I got something going on. And that's fair, So we have to know our audience, and we still have to know and learn some techniques to ask permission. So either we could share, or either we can, divulge information. We have to be in a space to ask permission on all those levels.
So I am sensitive to the time. Our show is normally only an hour, but Auntie Juanita said, why do you think Black boys and Black men are reluctant to share their emotional issues with people who can help them? For example, teachers, counselors, etc.
I'll answer that briefly because of time. I'll say that there is a huge mistrust in the Black community a lot of times where people don't look like us. And if you think about the educational system, it's very female dominated and driven, specifically mostly by white Caucasian women. And so Black boys, it may not be reluctant. They are reluctant sometimes to share these things because, one, there's been a historical thing called fear that if, you've heard in your household, like I've heard, don't go to the school talking about what's happening in the household. What happens in here stays in here. And I agree with Reverend Waterman French is that trust is the key. If the kids don't have the trust and they don't know how it's going to affect them, if it's going to get back home to somebody, they may not share. They might be reluctant to share. And these patterns become so ingrained in Black boys that these are the same boys that become Black men, and they keep these same things internalized. So it has to be trust, but historically, on certain plantations, if you told certain things, it could be a matter of life or death, or you being taken away from your family. These things have been passed all the way down. A lot of the ancestral traumas we don't talk about are direct related to why we don't necessarily trust. Black boys don't trust people with their hearts and with their emotions. And then if you haven't built relationships, how do I know I can't trust you? I don't know you. I just know you somebody that work in my building. We have to look at a lot of factors.
Now, I'm again so grateful for you for coming and sharing. There are a bunch of questions that are coming through now, and unfortunately, we will run out of time. But if people are on the Clubhouse app, we do have the after party at 7:15 p.m. in Clubhouse.
Yes.
I don't know if Mr. Jamie Hogue will be with me. I don't think Pastor Greg Stepper will be with me, but I will certainly bring these questions before the Clubhouse audience. For our Facebook Live folks, I may go on live while I'm in Clubhouse if that's helpful. I don't know, Mr. Jamie, how much time do you have?
I'll be there, and if I have every intention to be there, Reverend Glad. But please, even if I can't get there because my internet is a little bit lagging right now, please feel free to share my IG account and also my Twitter, and I'll share my email with you, and I'll share in the private chat. So Reverend Gladden can share with you guys, and you can shoot me any questions that you may have, anything that I can answer. I don't have all the answers, and when I don't, I always refer to some of my great friends who have a lot of information and a plethora of resources. So
people can follow you on Twitter at Jamie Hogue, the number 9. And people can also connect with you in your DMs, as they say, are open on Instagram at jhogue80. Okay.
Yes, they are.
And so, friends, we are I really want to make sure we have time for the last video, I Am Enough. We're going to close with the I Am Enough video, but I just want to bring Pastor Greg back out as well. Thumbs up if you're all right and ready from backstage to come in front of us, Pastor Greg. Okay, so the 3 of us together here, the 2 of you especially, you have really made the night for our viewers. People have all kinds of comments and questions. If you can see, particularly Mr. Jamie Hogue, if you can see that question that came over from one of the viewers named Pamela Beatty Mensa, if you can see that question, I'd like to be able to answer that in the Clubhouse afterwards, as well as to make sure she can get some encouragement. I want you to know we see your question, but it's a little larger than the screen can take right now, Pamela Beatty Mensa, but we will get to it in the after party. Yes. So if you can hang out, we will welcome you there. But brothers, give me a 60-second close. Now, I know I got a preacher and a counselor. I think we'd be safe with the counselor, but preacher, I mean 60 seconds.
I'm just gonna say thank you. It's really an honor, a joy, and a pleasure to be here and to share. And I'm just, loving this season and loving this break. And I hope that everyone does the same.
Yes. What? That was the preacher.
I'm being good. I'm being good.
I would just like to say to both you, Reverend and Pastor, thank you all for just allowing the platform for this discussion to take place. Just recently, I had a friend of mine say to me when I said, listen, I am so overwhelmed with this PhD program, with school, being an assistant principal, being an instructional leader. I'm exhausted. I got a lot on my plate. And he said to me, eat slow. So I say to everybody with a lot on their plate right now, take a little bit at a time, as Pastor Greg talked about, the 5-5-5, and eat slow. And it's okay to feel how you feel right now. Be in tune with those feelings and emotions. Explore them. Don't try to run away from them. And the last thing I'll say is find you a circle of safety, a safe place for people that you can go to at this time, because it's very heavy. Absolutely. So that's what I'll leave you guys with. Thank you for having me. All been love.
That is so rich and so important. Yes. A circle of safety. And more than anything, remember that you are enough. So, friends, this is our time for the night. We're going to close with Pastor Greg Stampers. You are enough. Make sure you join us back here, though, Sunday night at 8:15. And for the last 5 nights of the year, 8:15 p.m., the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 8:15 p.m. We have a dynamic list of guests lined up. Be here at 8:15 p.m. for the Soul Situation Room. But until then, make sure you take care. Make sure you stay blessed and do all the things that are good to the soul. I love you and God bless you.
Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, grains of sand uncountable. I am enough. And just like the clouds, so beautiful, like the earth, billions of people, stars in the sky, innumerable. I know I am enough. And we sing, I am enough. I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Oh. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Oh, just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, the grains of sand, I can't count them all, but I know I am enough. And I look at the clouds, they're beautiful, like the earth, billions and billions of people, stars in the sky, innumerable. I am enough. And we sing, I am enough. I affirm that today. I declare it today. I am enough. I forget about what anybody else says about me, and I know what God knows about me. Just as I am. Just as I am enough. Oh, I am power. I am power. And I am peace. Yeah. I am love. I am love. Eternally. I am whole. Yeah. I am whole. And complete. And complete. See, that's who I am. That's who I am. Oh, that's who I be. That's who I be. And we sing I am enough. It's the truth of our life, my life. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be added. Oh, I am. Just as I am. Just as I am. Oh, we are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We It's the truth of our life. It's the reality of our life. And we sing, I am me, just as I am, just as I am. I am me. We declare, we decree, we affirm.